Hello, and welcome to this special episode of Real Estate Fight Club. This episode is called What Would You Do?, where we discuss professional ethics and professional standards and ethics committee cases. And here with me today is Jim Camarata. Hey, Jim.
Good morning, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Right.
Good. And Jim is with Keller Williams in Minnesota. So, Jim, what do you have for us today? A good one?
Got an interesting scenario.
Okay.
So you've been referred to a seller. She has been in this house since 1962.
Okay.
She's 92.
Oh.
And you're going through the listing. And she basically says, okay, I want you to list this house for me.
Great.
So go through the paperwork. Get to the part where you have to talk about price. Now, you've done your research ahead of time. It's got a nice location, cul-de-sac with a nice meandering stream behind the house. So lots of wildlife and nature, and it's just very bucolic. She said, I want to net $650,000. Market value is about $400,000.
Oh.
The house is basically a teardown. I mean, it's old, it's not been cared for. It's not that big, and it's got a floor plan that's just not desirable. Okay.
My first question is how did you even get to this point? But carry on.
So she says, I want a net 650. Market value is about 400, which means that it would have to sell close to $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, decision point. What would you do?
I wouldn't take the listing, or I would try to explain to her and show her, walk her through the process.
Okay.
What would you do?
She says, nope, that's my figure, and that's what I'm sticking with. It's
not
negotiable.
That's what then I say, okay, well, I wish you luck, but I wouldn't even have been there because we would have discussed this over the phone during the pre-listing consultation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. And further diving in, it seems as though there was a builder or developer maybe 5 years ago who went up and down the street to all the neighbors saying, I want to develop this property. I'll buy it from you for $750,000.
Wow. She should sell it to him.
She didn't. There really was no money. He didn't get approval from the city.
Okay.
Do it. There was no money transferred. There was no money. There was no.
So it's not a real buyer.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. So
I'd probably explore about if that's the only place that she got the numbers from, and then go back to her motivation. But I think it's malpractice for us as agents to that's a lot. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you look at our professional standards, Article 1 says that we pledge ourselves to protect and promote the interests of our clients, and their interests are primary. Slide down to standard practice 1-3, and attempting to secure a listing shall not deliberately mislead the owner as to market value.
Oh my gosh. I think we need to reread that again. How many listings have you seen where you're like, what the hell?
Well, 5,000, 10,000, but
okay,
nearly 300.
Even somewhere between 1% and 3%, but beyond that, that's a big jump.
It's huge.
It's huge. Big. Yeah.
So yes, from an ethics standpoint, we should walk away from it. If she is just so adamant and just fixated on that particular price, no, there's no way, Jose, get out of it. Besides the ethics, you also have your own personal reputation at stake.
Right.
Other agents and other potential buyers and sellers are going to look at that and say, what are you doing?
Right.
What kind of professional are you?
This is part of buying the listing, right?
It's worse than buying a listing.
Yeah, it is. But this is one way. So it's you can grocery, you can overprice it to get it, or you can undercut your commission to get it. This is never good.
No, this was an extreme.
Yeah.
This is really
Was
an
there
extreme.
like an actual so like what would happen? So we see a house that is grossly overpriced. Like this would never be like a case, would it? Like, do people like what would the other realtor like say or in violation of article whatever?
Possibly, you could be called on it because it is a clear violation of the code. I mean,
Wow.
to secure a listing shall not deliberately mislead the owner as to market value. That is a gross misrepresentation of market value. When it's 400 and the seller wants to
Once.
go, no,
Yeah,
that
once a
doesn't
net.
work.
That's true.
Doesn't work. So run,
Yeah.
run for it.
Well, let me take a short break, talk about our partners, and let's come back with some final thoughts. So I have two partners I'm thinking of for you today. I think especially for this one, there's a saying that says generate so you don't have to tolerate. And there's a really great, yes, and a really good way to generate leads is using Vulcan 7. So they have a promotion where you can get 2 weeks for $49. You just go to vulcan7.com/Jennifer Mertland. Then you can get for sale by owners, expired, circle prospecting, and get all kinds of stuff. Or you can generate leads through Ghost Poster, which is social media marketing. And their deal is she has $50 off. So you go to mycoachmonica.com/offers and enter in Fight Club for your discount. But I think like for this case, this brings me to a point of like, how do you learn and how do you know how to pull the value of a home? Like, especially as the market is going up and it's coming down, because the past, as it's going up, the past doesn't matter. As it's coming down, the past also doesn't matter. So where do you learn how to do this? How do you know you're grossly overpricing or getting the right price?
Yeah, and that's the challenge every single day. And I
Things they
learned
don't
years
teach you in
ago.
real estate school.
Pardon me?
Things they don't teach you in real estate school. How
No,
to
they
be a
don't.
realtor, how to do the
They,
work.
they don't.
No.
And you're going to crack up when I tell you this. There was an appraiser years ago when I was in corporate relocation management. And I asked them one day, I said, you've been doing appraisals for years and years and years. What is your secret sauce?
Yeah.
If there was anything that you could share with me. He says, well, Jim, I study the comparables. I look to see what the history has been because that's what we appraisers have to do, especially for banks. We have to look at the history.
Okay.
What are similar styles, similar sized homes in the similar locations sell for?
Mm-hmm.
Then we do look at the competition. We look to see what is competing because that's also going to influence,
Of course.
marketing time and such like that. And I always stress that with my seller clients.
Mhm.
He says, but after all is said and done, and after I've gone through the house and looked at it, I go across the street, sit in my car, spit out my window and say, what would I pay for it?
Oh my God.
Is that great or what?
That's awesome. I think though there is some like nuance, right? So like after you've been and sold so many houses over a long period of time, you can literally like go into a house and be like, it's worth this because you've done it like sort of in your head almost or whatever. And like a house, it really depends on the condition too and how it feels, which is what the appraisers miss, but that's a whole nother
Yeah.
podcast.
Well, it was like the appointment that I went on yesterday. Mom is now in a nursing home, and
Uh-huh.
the two sons are trying to figure out, how can we get rid of all this thing? And so I looked at the comps before I went. Then when I got there, curb appeal wasn't too
Yep.
bad.
Yep.
I got inside and I went,
Oh, no. Was it like a hoarder house?
well, she's what, 91.
Wow.
And a lot of things, let's just say a lot of things did not get thrown away.
Yep. Mhm.
And they raised 3 kids in that little 1,000 square foot
Oh
house.
yeah, people used to do that all the time. One bathroom.
1 bathroom upstairs. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
Murphy bunker toilet.
Oh
Um,
no.
And so I went through and I'm looking at the paint peeling off of the ceiling and the plaster, and I'm going down in the basement and I'm looking at all the stuff on the walls, and uh, really over the years, it's 1914, the structure of the house has been modified,
Yeah.
so I'm looking at it and saying, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's some potential structural issues with this thing. Something else is going on upstairs with all the peeling paint. Um, Guys, how much money do you want to spend on this thing?
Right. You have two
Well, we
choices.
don't want to spend anything.
Yeah.
We need all that money to pay for mom's nursing home. I said, okay, we got to price this thing as is, and I'll come
Yeah.
up with a number for you.
Right.
So
I mean,
we'll
that's
look
the
at.
thing, right? So like we call them comparables. And in our head, comparables are like, it's generally location based.
Yep.
But I really think I like to change the word to relevant properties.
I was just going to say the same thing. We call them
Yeah,
relevant properties.
because it is what's in the neighborhood, right? Yes, yes. And it's also what else would the buyer buy? And to your point, who is the buyer? If we're selling this type of property that you mentioned as is, you have an investor buyer, a
Could be
homeowner,
invested.
right? A homeowner is not going to be like come in there and want to do their like sweat equity. That's a very small market right now.
Yep. No, it's going to be somebody that's going to flip it.
Yeah.
It's a
So
great
where
neighborhood,
else?
but
Yeah, where else are those investors looking? What can they get? What is their after repair value on this house? How much are they going to be putting in it? I mean, it's purely a math problem for them. And so as the
Mhm.
agent, we have to work it backwards.
Yeah. So you start here. What's market value, and where is that as is price?
Exactly. And
And
building in like profit and stuff like that. But even for like a homeowner, it's like, okay, well, where else are these people looking? Like the neighborhood comparables are kind of like the cap. But if you have that, like, let's say you have a $300,000 neighborhood, right? And it's like, okay, what are the other $300,000 neighborhoods that this buyer is likely going to be looking at? And what is the condition of those homes? And that will help us.
absolutely. So
We should do a class on comparables and relevant properties, Jim.
well, we can do that too sometime. I started off reviewing appraisals when I got into relocation management. So that's what
Oh,
I did for,
ugh.
I don't know, the first year of my business. So
Appraisals are trash. No, I'm just kidding. They protect the.
it's fun and it's interesting, but
Mhm.
it's not an exact science, but people want it to be.
They want it to be. I know it's hard.
It's
Yeah,
it's still okay. You can't see me, but it's still part gut feeling.
right.
So well,
Exactly.
you know that when you're showing a property to somebody, it either feels right
Right.
or it doesn't. Don't
Right.
try to justify with logic. It
Right.
either feels right or it doesn't.
Yeah. What do they say? Like, logic makes you think, but emotion makes you act.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well,
So
Jim, if people have a referral for you in Minnesota or they have a question, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
sure, I'm in the Minneapolis metro area, so 612-562-7461 or Jim Camarata at kw.com.
Awesome. And if people have questions for me or they're interested in joining EXP, you can call me at 513-400-1691. Hey, Jim, thanks for being on.
Hey, Jennifer, it's always a pleasure working with you.
Yeah.
You take care. Have a great day.
Yeah.